Hello, it's been a while and I'm so sorry that I've been gone for a bit, but we are finally here and I finally get to talk about my newest fixation, One Piece.
Come aboard and bring along all your hopes and dreams. Together we will find everything that we're looking for. One Piece.
Now the reason this did take so long is that I wanted to make some One Piece cards, basically, and then what I wanted to do was make them a bit more interactive in a way, and that will make a bit more sense as I go on. I'll explain bits about what I've done during, and everything that I do use will be in the description, so get ready whilst I yap about the future King of the Pirates. So to start off with, you'll notice that we are going jumbo sized, and the reason for this is that I wanted the cards to be able to be shrunk down to a TCG sized card, but I also wanted more detail than I'm typically able to achieve at that size. So to kick us off, I just want to start with my absolute favourite character, Luffy. Now this may be a generic take and it might be the most obvious pick, but I think it was the episode on Drum Island where he's climbing up the mountain with Nami on his back and Sanji in his teeth, that I think I just fell in love with him. Alright, so for a splash of delusion, with Luffy eating the Gum Gum fruit and becoming like a rubber guy, I wanted to keep it in spirit with the rubber man qualities, and so I ended up debating this so much, which is another reason it took so long, but basically I wanted the card to stretch. Now this is where the line kind of comes into play, but essentially I wanted the card to basically split in half and fold out to make it look like he's stretching. So this is Luffy's card, all done and dusted, a bit basic, but it will make sense because I do need it to kind of stretch out. But with that done, we will move on to part 2 of this little drawing process. Now, I will say I only very recently started watching One Piece, into part 2 of this little sketching process, and the main reason, realistically, that this I'm currently just over 700 episodes in, I could have made it so like a little stretch over the arcs we're going to be body of water, but seriously, I've had to cut myself off. Instead, I wanted it to be a bit of an homage to the first 4 arcs. Alright, so first arc, we're talking East Blue and the Arlong Pirates. I think they did do a really good job at introducing us to all the characters and making the main bad guy that truly infuriates me. I can't believe what he did to Bellamy. Never gonna forgive him. Never shouted more than any other time in my life. That being said, whilst I don't agree with what he did, I can't say that I don't get it, you know. Moving on, I also did want to draw the Going Merry, because I mean, how could I not? The very first ship of the Straw Hat Pirates, and my god is she a good ship. Truly, seeing the spirit of the Mary fix this ship whilst on Skypiea filled me with more emotions than I'd like to go into. Drawing the Mary, on the other hand, was a bit of a nightmare. Moving on to Arc 2, and honestly, my favourite arc, to be honest, for such a long time. The amount of world building that they were able to achieve with this arc truly stuck with me. Oh my god, and how cute is Carl, and he will forever live rent-free in my heart. But you know who won't? Crocodile. I mean, being the big bad of the arc this time around, he does do a good job of it, and using water to take him down was actually genius. I also had to add Laboon because, I mean, look, what an absolute big baby. And to kind of tie it all together, I did want to have kind of the City of Alabasta on there, but another reason why it needed to be so big. Alright, moving on to the third and final piece of this, and I will apologise because I've cut off the bit of the drawing where I'd actually drawn Skypiea. I will sort this whole setup out, I promise. It was basically just some vines and some clouds, but let's talk about Ologi using it then, shall we? And honestly, a very good villain. And by that, I mean, I hate him. But arguably the funniest thing in the world is to have him try and wipe Luffy out, and his face when he realised, everyone realised, that he is indeed made of rubber. Now, given that all I've done is draw Pokemon for like the last 200 plus days, it's been a bit hard to transition into drawing like anatomy. The good thing about One Piece is that none of these bodies are very particularly human shaped. As for the arc itself, it was alright, it just wasn't as good as Alabasta, so for me it was just, you know, just terrible timing. It's time to talk about our fourth and final arc, and that is Water 7, and that means we're also drawing another cityscape apparently. Now Water 7 is an arc I thoroughly enjoyed. I don't even know what it was about it, maybe it was just because Luffy went second gear for the first time. Look, I swear I'm like a 12-year-old kid, so I just love a good power up. What I will say though, is that, oh for fuck's sake. You know what I will say though, is that the power-up that Luffy does kind of make sense. You know, he's a rubber guy, he does use his elasticity, you know. Look, it makes sense in my brain, okay? Either way, I also wanted to draw Rocket Man, because how could I not? Getting the angles and whatnot on that train, by the way, was more difficult than I'd like to admit. As for the big bad, you know, I went with Lucci. It made sense to me, given that it was, it made sense to me, given that it was the strongest in CP9. And obviously, when it came to Lucci, what I wanted to do was kind of show off both characteristics, you know, his human form, I guess, and his Zoan form. So I just kind of went with like a kind of menacing looking pose, I suppose. And yeah, honestly, drawing his Zoan form was relatively really fun. There we go though, some final touches, and we're done with the third and final card, I suppose. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how they turned out for now. The only thing left to do is line it, colour it, and put it all together. So, with that said, get my little fine liner pen, and I'll get to it. A small interruption from me. If you are enjoying the content, you mind pressing that subscribe button? Yeah? Please? Pretty please? On a more serious note, if you do want to support me on Patreon, all of the art I do, as well as the line art for printing, is uploaded to there. If you're interested in Discord, there is a Patreon members Discord open too, if that interests you. There's also some discount codes and other things that I generally reach out to Patreon members for, like the binder art. That's it from me, and we'll see what the line art looks like, shall we? Here we are, line art done, and I'll have the pens that I used in the description, but I have really been enjoying these sketching like line art pens. They come in different sizes and they are pretty good. That being said, it is time to do some colouring. So we're bringing back Luffy and we'll start getting some colour on there. Here you'll see kind of a bit of a change to how I record and set up the video. I'd done some stuff to make it easier to record. I am still playing about with it a little bit to get it right, so it might still be a bit jank. Moving forward with these long form videos though, I am definitely going to be pulling the camera back and sorting the lighting out a bit. I will say though that the setup I have now, I do hope that long form videos should be a bit more consistent. The next video being the Pokemon binder for the, hand-drawn Pokedex that we're currently at just over 200 days on, which is nuts. Like, that's absolutely insane. I can't believe I've kept it going for so long, if you want me to be completely honest. You know me, I've been more mushy than not, if I'm completely honest, and doing this has been generally the most amazing thing I've ever done. It's made my art infinitely better. It's made me infinitely better socially, because I am a pretty awkward person. I've said it once, I'll say it a million more times. If there's ever something that you want to do, go do the thing. Alright, back to the card. One of the problems I did have with this was due to it needing to be done in a specific way so that it stretched and it was consistent through the other two cards. It was a little hard to think of like an interesting pose, so I think it looks maybe a touch boring. Don't get me wrong, I am still happy with it. I just think that I was a little limited as to what I could do. But here we are, I do like it, so we'll move on to the next one. Moving on to the second card, I will tell you right now that this is the last colouring section as I finished the last card off camera. Truly, I was hating how long it took, if you can't tell. Out of every single piece of this though, I think the Going Merry is ultimately what turned out the best for me. Which is weird because it started out so rough. This does open the question though as to what the hell I'm supposed to do with the rest of the Straw Hat Pirates. I'm not sure I have enough brain cells in order to think of like an interactive card for the others at the minute, but I do want to draw more One Piece, so I think for the time being I'm just going to draw some more traditional TCG sized cards for some One Piece stuff and revisit the kind of interactive nature when I have another idea. Now honestly, I can't tell you why it suddenly got so dark. This is one of the things I aim to fix, but I think it was because I coloured it at like 4 AM or something. So in complete honesty, I probably looked like a gremlin sat next to a lamp while I did this. But it might have been that I think the other parts of the video were a little bit overexposed to begin with. So again, I do need to fix the lighting, and I will in the future, I promise. A little hint for the upcoming binder video though. Last time I did the binder painting, I wasn't very happy because I didn't really like painting in, traditional paintbrushes. But I did pick up some acrylic markers and I'm very excited to use those in order to paint the cover of it. I wanted it to be more scenic this time around, and I think I've learnt a lot since the last time I did binder painting, so can't wait. In fact, I'm going to start making the design now. Okay, so in order to make kind of the interactable nature of this card, I needed to have the 3 kind of pieces of it and then kind of digitally edit them together and then print them off as one kind of card. Now, I had a few ideas of how I wanted to do it. Ideally, if I were to do it again, I'd probably go for some kind of like netting. I tried like this cotton fabric, which didn't really go the way I wanted. So you'll see how it turned out in the end anyway. But we are just about done with the colouring process regardless. I am going to finish off some last kind of like detail bits, get the cards cut out and whatnot off camera. So if you give me just a couple of seconds, we'll bring the other cards in for just a minute. This is the colouring that I'd done off the camera for the third card, so we'll pop this here as well. And with the power of editing, we finally have 3 completed cards at last. And after a bit of playing about with the digital version of it, this is my very first attempt at my interactable Luffy card. I will say I do like it at this size. I do think it's scaled pretty well, and the best part of it is obviously the fact that we can stretch it out. I'm not sure I like those choice of words, and I can't believe I'd even done this delusional idea in the first place. Honestly, I'm going to end up breaking this just by playing with it, because I'm definitely just going to be like, whoop, 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 you know, all day, every day. I'll be honest, I'm floundering. I don't know how to end these videos still. It's still something I'm working on, but I've had an absolute blast. It was very fun to think about, and I will inevitably catch you in the next one. Bye.